Nation, there are some bands that are always, and have been for a very long time, on our everyday vernacular. These are the bands that usually we have the closest attachment to, or the bands that we love the most. And so I start 2013 off with a new series for you guys. Something where I will be presenting the top 10 songs for certain bands. And I'm going to, of course, start with the one that I could potentially be considering my favorite band of all time. This is something that, shifts like the tide. However, this is one that has constantly either occupied or been close to the top spot for a very, very long time. And I will be accepting requests for this, but pay attention to the rules after I finish up the list. That's the band Opeth. Ever since I first got Blackwater Park back in 2001, these guys were on my tongue pretty much every single day. It was to the point where it drove my best friend insane. And which is kind of funny to me, considering we've driven each other insane over various things and stupider things. But this is a band that I definitely felt a very close attachment to, and for that, I now present to you 10 of the songs that I find to be my favorites. This definitely changes like the tide also, but for right now, these are the top 10. Now you'll notice there are two albums that are not represented here, and that's their very first one, Orchid, and their very last one that was just released in 2011, Heritage. Orchid had a lot of songs that just barely missed the cut, and Heritage I think is a little bit too new in order for me to include the songs on the list. Kind of like my best albums of all time list, I kind of like to give, songs a bit of a waiting period to see if they kind of stand up to the test of time. So with that said, let's go to the list. Number 10 off of Deliverance, we have Master's Apprentices. This is a song that has a huge riff that starts off this track, one of the most addicting and probably one of the easiest to tap on guitar in Opeth's discography. And, Deliverance was coupled with Damnation to have this kind of like day-night, night-day effect type thing going on, a dark album and a light album. And really what you have is definite darkness on this song, and the riff is definitely one that showcases that 100%, with a lot of character and with a lot of ferocity. And this is definitely a track that continues to build off of that as it continues onward. I definitely like the vocals on this. I absolutely love the riff, and I love the way that this track builds and broods on for 11 long minutes of just, amazingness. This is definitely one that I would include on a like an Opeth mixtape or something like that if I were exposing them to Opeth for the very first time. This also brings up a really, really weird point that some people might think that For Absent Friends or, even the title track Deliverance deserve to be on this list as opposed to this track. But For Absent Friends, for a weird example, showcased a little bit more of that Damnation side, that light side, so to speak. And there's a little bit of cross-mingling within there, which is going to be explained in track number 9, In My Time of Need, off of Damnation. And this, right from the beginning strums, definitely had that mark and tone of a very emotional and a very heartfelt track, and one that definitely showcases that loneliness, that outreach, that, kind of desolation that the track is really speaking about. Having the desire to have somebody really be there for you in your time of need. Kind of remember that you exist whenever times are tough. This had a lot of personal resonation for me, considering 2000s were not exactly the best of times for Cover Killer Nation up until the point he became an album reviewer. And this is during the first half of the year where there was a lot of different questions about different things. I was going through a very rough period, and this song definitely seemed to speak to me. Also, it was a song that I found very easy to write to. I've had at least 2 songs entitled Picture Frame 1 and 2 that were definitely influenced by In My Time of Need, and I'm sure that I've had a myriad of others that have had an indirect influence from this song that I might not even know about. Track number 8, we have Harvest. If you really want to go and turn back the clock, this is the very first song by Opeth I ever heard on an old CMG Music sampler that I got from one of my friends, and this was just the song. This is the song that started it all, that really got me into the band, and really it's not even a very fitting descriptor to their discography, considering its soft nature, its mellow nature. They'd only done this on a couple of different tracks previously in their discography, so this was definitely one that was not a fitting manifestation of what they really were all about. However, there was something about that riff, that, those strums on the acoustic guitar, and hearing Mike's voice for the very first time, that just breeds curiosity. Not to mention, if a band is able to, if a band is supposed to be progressive death metal, and you hear something like that, you really have to be curious, because you have to wonder what else there is. What is there to behold? Because this is so out of character, seemingly, for the band, and at the time it definitely felt as such, that it really just breeds supreme curiosity for what they're able to do with the rest of their discography. And because of that, I picked up Blackwater Park and basically backtracked until new stuff came out, and then forward tracked, so to speak. Number 7, we have To Bid You Farewell. You want to once again go with that emotional outpouring type of idea. This was one that definitely hit home for me, off of Morning Rise, their second album. This is a song that's all about saying farewell, saying goodbye, and kind of this turmoil and this, heartbreak and sadness that kind of comes along with it. The music definitely reflects this. The lyrics reflect this. It's just really the perfect combination that really makes for just a very depressing song that kind of fittingly envelops what the idea of saying goodbye is all about. And for me, during the period in which I first got it, I was saying a lot more goodbyes than I was hellos. So yeah, it was definitely something that spoke to me a lot. Number 6, we have Reverie / Harlequin Forest. This is off of Ghost Reveries. A lot of people probably expected either Ghost Reveries or The Grand Conjuration for this album to be represented. And I have to go with this one. From the very, very soft, almost harmonious introduction that you get from the previous track, then whenever you go right into this song, which basically just, explodes like like Hiroshima or Nagasaki, you explode right into it, and you get those opening lines that just kind of grip your soul and kind of haunt your mind, into the trees, and you're just, all of a sudden you're transformed into this forest, whether it be an actual forest, a forest of metaphor, a forest of thought, a forest of emotion, whatever the forest may represent for you, you are definitely sent away to it. And the funny thing about it is that even though you feel lost, even though you feel absolutely just, you're in a terrible state, you don't know how to get out, you don't know how you got there, you kind of want to stay, because it's almost like this forest is going to impart wisdom upon you. And this song definitely has that really, really desolate but yet impactful feeling to it, which is the reason why it's my favorite off of that album. Number 5, we have Moonlapse Vertigo. You could really just intermix any song from Still Life and it would basically fit. It's that perfect of an album. It's fantastic. You could put in Godhead's Lament, you could put in Midnight in Face of Melinda, Serenity Painted Death, etc., etc., and it would fit perfectly. Moonlapse Vertigo really was where the plateau portion of Opeth's career really started to showcase itself, because you kind of got the wide spectrum of Mike's voice, and everything was just kind of getting to that Opeth sound that you were used to for, parts of My Arms Your Hearse, but definitely were very, very, very close to with albums such as Still Life and Blackwater Park. And just the way in which they're able to intermix a story, a concept album with Still Life, very loosely based, but yet maintain the individuality of each and every track, and really, even though some themes were sometimes a little bit repetitious, it definitely was one where the individual characters really shined forth throughout the whole endeavor. Fantastic song, fantastic record. If you haven't listened to it, what the hell are you waiting for? Number 4, Blackwater Park, the title track off of, Blackwater Park, my first Opeth release. This mammoth closing track basically took everything that Blackwater Park did, all the different musical themes and musical concepts that were embodied within it, and put it into one track. From the moment that you kind of get that hazy little afterglow, and then BAM! That opening riff hits you. Oh geez, it's just a remarkable feeling. You immediately are standing at attention, and your ears are listening, because you just got floored by that opening. You didn't see it coming, and as it just continues to go on, they just have this atmosphere to them. And Blackwater Park had this atmosphere that was just, I have never heard it, done again, and that's something that's going to make it a treasure for me forever. It was just tremendous. It has this dark and murky desolation feel to it, but yet the power and kind of the sinister nature behind it is in, just the tone. It's almost like you're kind of swimming through your own mind's eye, and there's just a very dank and desolate area that surrounds where you're at, and then you get confronted by emotion, by anger, by depression, by, the thought that maybe this is all that is meant to be. Blackwater Park really showcases that in a very visual way and also in a very musical way. Number 3, I thought this song would be my favorite, but it's only number 3. Off of Watershed, we have Burden. First time I ever heard this song, I absolutely loved it. It was a great symbol of just heartache, heartbreak, and just really toiling with the ideas of just struggle and pain. And the interweaving jazz guitars and the very soft and very mellow but very depressing lyrics mixed together with the epic solo at the ending, that kind of a murkiness that kind of emerges right there at the end, that decaying of the track, you know what I mean? And it just all fit together so perfectly, so beautifully. On an album that a lot of people may not exactly mark as an acclaimed album by this band, I tend to disagree. It was really showcasing that transition into that more progressive side. So, I mean, everything that Opeth has done has not been without its kind of heralding cry, and Watershed was the heralding cry for what Heritage was, well, really going to become. Number 2, we have Demon of the Fall. This was definitely my favorite song for a long time, but it's been eclipsed. This is off of My Arms, Your Hearse. It has probably the heaviest and the most sinister opening of any Opeth song that you're going to hear. And really, this is, once again, a heralding cry. This was what was heralding what was to become Still Life and Blackwater Park's trademark Opeth sound. You heard just that sinister side of Opeth throughout the first 4.5 to 5 minutes of the song, and then the latter part was that softer side, even though it was coupled with a very, very harsh riff. I remember hearing the song live during the Heritage Tour, and I lost my mind. It was just such an amazing experience. It's such an incredible song that really showcases just the sinister depths that make you understand why why Michael was in Bloodbath for a while, because he definitely has one hell of a snarl. And then we get it to number 1. Maybe it's number 1 because it's the longest song in their discography. Maybe not. Black Rose Immortal. If there's a song that is going to chronicle what Opeth was to become and what they were going to embody, the different things that they were going to undertake, the different sides of this band, Black Rose Immortal is able to do all of that in 20 minutes. And I'm not saying that gives you a reason to not buy the rest of their discography, but it gives you a reason to go back and listen to this track today, because it's enormous, it's magnificent, it is one of a kind. It takes place in a couple of different parts, and each part definitely speaks a different volume. I mean, from the midway point of this track, where you just hear the softness, to the period where it is just uber and hyper-aggressive, very death metal style, to the soft finale. I mean, this is just a track that is absolutely magnificent. It's glorious, it's resplendent, it is godly. This is definitely one that you need to revisit today, even if it is for the very first time. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My favorite 10 of my favorite Opeth songs. There's definitely more. I love most of their discography, if not all of it. So there you go. If you guys have any requests for some bands that you want me to do for this series, leave them in the comments, but comment on some of your favorite Opeth tracks as well. I might not necessarily, use your suggestion. However, it may propel me to do another part of the series with a band that maybe I would have forgotten about had you not suggested and nudged it for me. So anyways, guys, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this series, and I will talk to you guys later. Don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe and tell your friends, and check out the 2013 State of the Music Address if you have not already. It is a big